Hello and welcome to this edition of eTutorial. This one's in relation to the 101 mistakes that people make when they apply for a liquor license. Whether it's new, whether it's a transfer of a liquor license, it really doesn't matter. A lot of people make mistakes, and so hopefully we can address some of those concerns. First thing I probably want to talk about would be training. The Commission actually says you've got to have undertaken the training, whether that's the licensee's course or responsible serving of alcohol, prior to actually lodging any application for a liquor licence. The Commission has shown over the recent months that they're quite prepared to accept an application for a liquor licence, provided that the people that are required to do the training have at least enrolled in a course. And so if you're looking to get through a bit of paperwork urgently, make sure you've actually enrolled in a course, and that way the Commission generally will accept your application. One of the other things people make mistakes about is that they get all excited about setting up a brand new business, and so they go and sign a lease for a building, and they may do that in the early stages of when they're preparing to open up a business. And so what they tend to do is they open up a dialogue with the freehold owner of the premises, probably sometimes through an agent, and they'll sign a lease, and that lease will usually be in their name, their individual name. Now that could be just as a sole trader, or if in the case of a husband and wife, maybe both husband and wife will sign the lease. They'll then set about the process of actually applying for a liquor licence, and one of the first things that people will do is have discussions with an accountant. In some circumstances, the accountant may suggest that what they should do is actually establish a company. And so what they then do is they then apply for a liquor licence under a company name. The trouble in these circumstances is that the lease and the liquor licence must match. And so when you get to a point with the liquor licence application where you've got to provide the Commission with evidence that you've got a lease, the lease of course comes back in your individual names rather than a company name, and at that point the whole application will grind to a halt. They must match. So consider this: whenever you apply for a liquor licence, the entity that you apply for the liquor licence must be the same entity that has actually applied or signed a lease with a freehold owner. One of the other problems people face when they apply for a liquor licence is they don't give themselves enough time. They get anxious about getting into a licensed premises. They've done a deal with a licensee about transferring a liquor licence, and then all of a sudden they think they can be in within a couple of days. In respect to a transfer of a liquor licence, you should expect a minimum of 1 month to occur from the time you lodge your application for the transfer of a liquor licence until settlement. If you do it more than that or less than that, then what will happen is that you'll end up being a licensee of a premises that you can't use the liquor licence for. And the reason for that is that the licence is not allowed to be used until your name's endorsed on it. Now in some circumstances, some previous licensees will actually tell you that you can actually use their liquor licence whilst you're waiting for yours to come in. That's not true. There are significant fines in excess of $30,000 or 2 years jail for those people who actually are caught selling alcohol without a liquor licence. You're not a licensee until your name or your company name is endorsed with the liquor licence. Whenever you buy a licensed premises, one of the first things you probably should do is chase up your local council for a copy of your planning permit. There are sometimes barriers for planning permits in the way you might want to operate your business. For example, you might have a planning permit that says you are not permitted to provide live or recorded amplified music, and you're intending in your restaurant to have a band on a Friday or Saturday night. You can't do it. Planning permit prohibits it. Your planning permit might put a condition on it, on your business that says, for example, you can't empty rubbish bins after 8 o'clock at night, and you might operate a bar that goes late into the night when you generate most of your rubbish after 8 o'clock at night. So they're little minor things that you might want to take into consideration. The other thing to consider is this: when it comes to a discrepancy between planning and liquor licensing, planning generally wins. And what I mean by that, if you've got a planning permit that says you can operate your business until 11 o'clock at night, what you can't do is you can't get a liquor license until 1 o'clock in the morning. And so what you'll need to do is you'll have to have your planning permit altered. In the case of floor plans, which shows what can be licensed, planning again wins. And so, for example, if you've got a planning permit that shows half a building can be licensed, and you apply for a liquor license and you want the whole building to be licensed, you can't do it. Planning wins. So it's very important to get a copy of your planning permit and have a good look at it, and see what else needs to happen in your business to make sure you're compliant. It could be a range of things in relation to closing of car park exits, to a whole range of different things. Get a copy of your planning permit, have a good look at it and understand it. In some circumstances, when you apply for a transfer of a liquor licence or indeed a new liquor licence, you're going to need a building surveyor to calculate what the authorised patron capacity of your venue can be. Now, what I mean by that is every liquor licence that comes up for a transfer these days, or every new liquor licence where there's on-premises consumption, for example restaurants and hotels, the Commission will require that a building surveyor determine patron numbers. This is where sometimes people get caught out. They'll physically go and have a look at a restaurant to buy, and they'll go down and they'll have a look at it. They might even discreetly have a meal at the place just to see what it's like, and they'll sit down and they'll scan their eyes around the room, and they'll see that there's tables and chairs for 300 people or 200 people or whatever the case may be. And then they decide they want the business, so what they then do is they then apply to transfer the liquor licence. There's then a requirement for a building surveyor to determine patron numbers, and what ultimately happens in those circumstances is the building surveyor may come back and, through a lack of toilets or a lack of floor space or a lack of exits, anything to do with the building code of Australia, they come back and their report says that the capacity of your venue is now 50, and you've taken over or you've paid for a business where there were 200 seats in there. The previous owner may well have been quite compliant given that there were no patron numbers endorsed on the licence, but this could be the trick, and be aware of it. And so maybe in the first instance, when you're thinking about applying for the contract of sale with a vendor, just have in the back of your mind, if there's no liquor licence numbers, patron numbers endorsed on the licence, the building surveyor's report might not be as favourable as you hope. And so maybe that you have a cooling off period in your contract, which will give you enough time to get a building surveyor's report to make sure the patron numbers are capable of being endorsed on your licence that's significantly large enough for you to actually make money out of it. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this short little e-tutorial on some of the things that people get wrong or don't quite understand when they apply for a liquor licence. We would ask that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you can see it through YouTube, Liquor Consultancy Services. Or if that's not as easy as you think, if you go to our website, www.liquorconsultancy.com.au, there's actually a YouTube button on there, and you can also view all our other e-tutorials, and we also have other videos on Access All Areas where we do interviews with different people and different organisations. Well, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye for now.